All right, I think, yeah, we're recording. So my name's Isaac,
I'm George.
and we're two dudes that really, really like nerdy stuff and like talking about it. And yeah, anything else we want to mention about ourselves, George, for now?
Eh, let's just see where this takes us and
All
see what
right,
happens.
fair enough. All right, what action figure you got tonight?
So I've got Square Enix Final Fantasy Bring Arts Chocobo, a 1/12 scale version of that little fluffy
Can
mascot.
you can you hold it up for the? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so it's good for 1/12 scale action figures. Get this thing on the. So it's good for things like Marvel Legends or just hanging out by itself. You can stand, you can sit, you can pose. Yeah, I should probably get a better camera at some point.
Me too. Don't worry about it.
It's a well done figure. It's pretty solid. It's not floppy.
Is it rare, or what Final Fantasy did it come? What Final Fantasy did it come from?
I believe the sculpt is based off of the Final Fantasy 14, like their MMO, their online MMO, because that's like their longest running flagship right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty recognizable thing, and they copied most of this aesthetic for the Final Fantasy VII remastered that came out. All the two remasters that have come out, and then with the third one. So it's a pretty nice sculpt. It's clean. The Japanese anti-fun equation doesn't let them release a product that isn't painted very well. So you're not going to get something that's all cracked or messed up or have sloppy paint apps.
And explain for the audience Final Fantasy, because I come from, I played some Final Fantasy games, but are the games connected? Are they individual? Is it one long storyline? Or is it kind of like each one's like its own separate thing?
It's yes with an if and no with a but. So there are themes that will pull across easily themes that will pull across the first 10 of them, and then you've got some of them, like especially with the online ones, Final Fantasy 11 and 14, they're their own thing. But a lot of the narrative themes, the character designs, the aesthetics, the Nobuo Uematsu music. He's still alive. He's a big composer for video games in Japan. And then I can never remember his name. Final Fantasy artist. I can't pronounce the first name, but the last name's Amano. He's the one that had all the really funky, very lightly, brightly drawn art that was in a lot of the manuals from Final Fantasy 1 all the way through Final Fantasy 14. And it's a very distinct style and aesthetic, and the games kind of feed back and forth. I think the only one I can think of off the top of my head where the two games are directly connected are Final Fantasy 10 and then 10-2, because it's a direct continuation, and then Final Fantasy 13. Did that have a sequel? The one with the girl with the pink hair, Lightning.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
Let's see.
And I had a friend who was really into. He always would talk about Final Fantasy VII, and he said that was like the apex of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that was like the blockbuster. Yeah.
Is that what put it on the map, or what was so great about that? I played it a bit, and I was like, oh, I really like this. But he was like, and the Reddit forums too was like bonkers for Final Fantasy VII. Why?
Well, a lot of it is generational, like with millennials, because it came out around the same time a lot of millennials had access to video game systems.
Yeah.
And I think Square Enix, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think they did something like a $50+ million ad campaign in the U.S. for Final Fantasy VII.
God.
Which
back
was
in the day, that's like for inflation. That's
a lot of money.
I mean, that's like Marvel movie ad campain budget level.
Yeah,
if you do it to inflation today.
Yeah, we didn't even have cable growing up, and I was seeing commercials for it all the time, and as I understand it, their push on cable stations was even harder. So that was like the thing, because it was the first Final Fantasy to have full motion video cutscenes. So that was big. And it was the first one that was like fully 3D, which is, today is mundane, but at the time it was like the thing. And they were pushing really hard, and they just crushed it with it.
I remember on the PlayStation, I had an N64. My friend had a PlayStation, and I always we would argue which one was better, but I always liked the PlayStation, the graphics were, I don't know, there was some, I watched a technical video where they're like the graphics, they were kind of wiggly, like there was some reason why they were slightly the characters would move just a bit. I don't know, but it was it had that, I don't know, there was something unique about that PlayStation graphics that you didn't see on the N64. I don't know if I'm describing it properly, but there was just slight movement in the character models or the vehicle models.
Oh yeah,
If you watch,
it looks like it didn't look like light. I know what you're talking about. It's like the outline didn't change, but it shifted.
yeah,
So that the straight lines would go up and down diagonally just a little bit.
yeah.
And it caught your eye, yeah.
And I don't know why, but I kind of liked it. It's a flaw, but I kind of liked it. I don't know. It made it very unique to me.
Yeah.
So, okay. So Final Fantasy VII was the apex. And now what are we up to in Final Fantasy?
They came out with 16, but it broke a lot of people's expectations. Not in a good way. A lot of, I didn't play 16. I don't have a PlayStation 5. I've played all the way up to 13 because I had to use PlayStation 3 or 4, whichever one it came out on. But 16, a lot of the reviews were the narrative was stale. The characters didn't really have a lot of depth, even though it was a long story and you had a lot of characters. Where in previous games they've had, Final Fantasy VI, that was my jam. That was the last one to come out on the Super Nintendo. And there were 14 characters. Everyone had a really comprehensive story. Everyone had a full character arc. Even the secret characters had a character arc if you figured out what was going on with them. But with 16, it was just a lot of very Marvel movie battle scenes.
Oh god!
And a lot of epic stuff, but it kind of went in terms of how it connected with people.
Let's talk about Marvel for a second, not to switch for fun, just because that's been on my mind since, again, free flowing, but since, we saw teasers for Avengers Doomsday coming out and all that. And I don't know I don't know. I haven't seen the Doctor Doom teaser trailer. I don't know if that's been released yet, but I saw the other teasers, for Thor and for Wakanda. There was one for X-Men that came out, with the Avatar movies, each week, new teaser, and then they would, end up getting leaked. So Marvel released it on YouTube, and I'd watch it there. I haven't seen Avatar 3. I don't even know if it was good. But what do you? I don't know. Seems Marvel's trying to do a huge course correct, and I get it. But are you bought into? Be honest. I get it, and I want to believe, but I don't know if I'm bought into it.
I want the movies to be worth the price of admission in the theater, and stuff after Endgame it fell off a cliff. I think they were trying to coast on momentum for a long time, and regardless of what you might think about the internal politics, the quality of the movies just went to garbage. They were giving, $400 million movies to people who had only ever produced a couple episodes of a TV show, and you might strike. You might be able to bottle lightning once, but yeah. So fingers crossed, but
yeah, and there was the Thor teaser trailer, and Thor's now a more serious character in the new teaser than he was in Love and Thunder, which was
a mess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, gosh, that movie sucked. And so okay, cool. Thor's this more warrior character, and he's got a. So I'm okay, I'm buying into this, or I see their course correcting, but on the other hand, what worries me is to Endgame we had logical character build up. Phase 4 was a complete mess. So yeah, we're gonna see some characters from Phase 4, Pedro Pascal and Simu Liu for they showed the cast or whatever, but until these teasers, I don't really, because they were going to do Kang the Conqueror, but then that blew up. Until these teasers, Doctor Doom, Thanos was built up, and so in one movie they have to make you care about Doctor Doom, and then assemble a team of characters that most people didn't even watch the movies for, or had one-off movies that were terrible, and then it has to be epic. I don't know. It's just, I'm not trying to be. It's just, it's a tall order it would be a tall order to somehow pull all those strings off, in my opinion, in one movie without the buildup they had.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. It's just it looks like it's going to be a reach. I think they're going to try and fish hook a lot of people with nostalgia. Like, did you see the X-Men teaser?
Yeah, and
It's like visually beautiful, but you don't know if that's a hook for just like a 10-second scene in the movie, or he gets off one optic blast and then Doom just magic hand waves him back into another dimension and he's gone.
And like it's cool, like nostalgia, yeah, like St. Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, like, but like it also part of me. I'm not trying to prove it, but it's like, I mean, and I get it. It's sort of like an admission, like we effed up on Phase 4, so we're going to bring back stuff that worked, try to course correct. However, right, with Cyclops, that looked awesome. However, yeah, like, is it going to all fit together? Because the last time, I mean, in Doctor Strange, the second one, which I only watched half of, like, they just, like, multiverse, then the X-Men were there, and then I was like, where the hell is this going? What's going on here? What is happening? And so it seems, I don't know, I don't want to be, I'm sounding super negative. I want it to work, but, and Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, I don't know. The Iron Man was so epic. I could see him being a great villain, but on the other hand, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's too much up in the air, especially because, and I'm not being ageist, but Robert Downey Jr. is what, going to be close to 60.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
And yeah, he's literally 60 years old. So, how much more gas are they going to get out of him? Does he really want to? Is he doing this for $150 million check or whatever godly number I'm sure it is? And are they going to make him like an actual, like, he's going to just bitch slap everybody and then, get squished and then replaced, or are they going to swap it out, or are they going to even expose his face, or are they going to keep him as a character just for his acting presence and then swap it out with someone else down the line? Because Doctor Doom, I was a huge comic kid, and Doctor Doom has so many different ways he presents, but he's a persistent thing in the Marvel comics,
right?
Not just a villain. Like, I hate saying complex characters for the sake of it, because he's a dick, but he's also like very protective of the stuff he has and his little kingdom. He's gone, I'm sure everyone's seen it on their Instagram reels or TikTok reels. He's gone to hell to go claim his mother's soul back and punched Mephisto, which is like, Marvel's devil, in the face to go get his mom. So it's not just a black and white villain. And if they make him a black and white villain in the movie, they might waste one of their last really easily identifiable assets.
Yeah, and that's the other point. I mean, Kevin Feige said, and they're like, what happens after? Kevin Feige said, I wouldn't call it what we're going to do after a reboot, but a reset, which I was like, okay, I can kind of understand that. And like, it's going to start with X-Men. I think that's what he said, or I remember reading that somewhere. And I'm like, okay, because then part of me also was like, well, what comes after? I mean, you're going to do this. It's going to be a one-off, I think, right? We're going to put to bed all the big characters you built up. Then it's going to be a reset. I would think, I don't know, if I were, I think the comic book movies after should try to go, not, when I say smaller, like more, like, yeah, the cool CGI, but like more like, let's start like character driven. Like, I want to see a day at, like, if they were going to do X-Men, like, I don't know, seeing like Charles Xavier's school, like a day in the life of a school student, like more human, like, let's have
more stakes.
Yeah, more moment, like things, for instance, like in Captain America Civil War, right? Like, there wasn't an earth-ending event at the end, but the fight was so epic because it was personal. Like, it was two friends fighting, and it was like, oh my God, like the emotion of it, right? Things don't, what I realized after, Endgame did it so well, but what I realized, at least for me, in movies, is things can feel epic or things can feel heavy without, oh, there's another Galactus is trying to eat the Earth. Things can feel heavy if there's an emotional weight behind them, like, human friendships gone bad, stuff like that can be just as epic, or, oh my God, I need to tune in for this. The human stories.
Oh yeah, no, and again, for me personally, like when I really liked comics, it was when I would always follow arcs all the way from beginning to end, like every little mini run of series for low stakes stuff, like early '90s, late '80s, early '90s Spider-Man. I don't know if you ever read or heard of Secret Wars.
Oh
That's
yeah.
but like that stuff where like the Secret War stuff, that's like once in the blue moon thing where like literally let's put all the toys together, make them punch and kick and fight, and then send everybody back home. That's fun when you have a little emotional investment with those people. But yeah, it's like you said, now everything is just end of the world, end of the world, end of the universe, killed half the universe, next multi dimensions, and they're not doing low stakes stuff where you actually get to know the characters and what makes them who they are. Everyone's just going, here's Miss Marvel, here's the other person who was also called Miss Marvel, but she's made of rubber. Here's the Fantastic Four, but we have to make every time they're on the screen Galactus coming to eat their and they have a big cadre of villains they could have chosen or challenges or even things in the comics like Reed's ego has gotten him more messed up than his villains over the course of.
And that's relatable, right? Yeah. Because because every human, like I can't relate to if there's no human element, then you could show me the most amazing CGI fight and I'd be like, well, that's really cool, but I'm not bought in, right? Like there has to be like that relatability. Like this might be a fantastical universe, but yes, I've had too much ego and hubris, or I've known someone who had too much ego and hubris, and like, oh wow, that's relatable. That does happen. I mean, these are our modern Greek legends, and I don't know if we can't see ourselves in them. There's not. You're right. Like every Earth-ending event, it's like, here we go again. And I know I'm sounding negative. I don't mean to, because I love comics. I love superheroes, and I want to get them back on track, right? Because I think the medium, there's a lot of different ways to tell stories that other mediums like can't do, in my opinion, right? Like what would it, just that, yes, this is fantastic, but yeah, like let's ask the question, what would it be like to have these superpowers in a real world? Like what would that be like as a person? How would you deal with that? Like these would be interesting scenes to watch for me, in my opinion. And that's why, I know this is free flowing, but like, I know like it gets crapped on a lot, but now people are having nostalgia for it, like Man of Steel.
Oh yeah.
Like I really liked that movie, like because it was like, yeah, what would it be like to have basically demigod powers but to be an outcast? Because like if you lose your temper, if you have these superpowers, you lose your temper, you could like laser someone's head off, and what's that like? And having to hide that. Like, I don't know, there was like, yeah, like Clark Kent probably would wander around and be like, where the hell do I belong when I can fly and punch through walls and like kill people if I have a bad day? Yeah. There was something very like grounding about that, where I was like, yeah, they had the end of the world fight scene, but it was also like, yeah, he's on a fishing boat and he's just trying to like figure out life. What did you think about that movie?
I liked it, and a lot of people crapped on it, and Zack Snyder does go overboard in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
But I think Zack Snyder is very good at telling stories of like gods and pantheons. And for me, my brain framed it like that because I liked him. Granted, it was like a 1-for-1 pull from the panel, but 300, I know he did movies before that, but 300, I love that because when you give him the right stuff to work with, he'll make a perfect movie.
Yeah. When he has someone else to like give him the material, I think, or work with him on the material to point him in the right direction. Like for Man of Steel, like I know Chris Nolan was like producer, so I think he like gave him pointers on how to humanize or make Superman, right? And I think that guided Zack in the right direction. And like, the Snyder cut of Justice League, like, I mean, it was a little long meandering, but I will say I did kind of like the characterization of Steppenwolf. Like I felt for the guy a bit. Yeah. I was like, oh wow, okay. Like, what did you think?
Yeah, and right there, it's because Zack Snyder, he can do gods. He's not good at doing people, but he can do God. No. And DC Comics, and I don't know if I'm getting this right, but I was more of a Marvel kid. But DC Comics seems to be more about gods interacting with the world, minus Batman, because everyone's a god. Aquaman's effectively a god, Superman's a god, Cyborg's a god. All of their enemies are gods. They have the new gods, the old gods. They directly interact with the Greek pantheon, and all of their gods, like crazy amounts of like that level of stuff. So when you frame the stories like that, like Man of Steel and Justice League, what is the impact of the fallout of mistakes and past sins of the Pantheon interacting with the mortal world? That's kind of that might not be the way a lot of people saw it, but that's where my brain went when I saw it. I'm like, I liked that. And
I agree. And I think even Snyder said something like these are gods. Like, what would it be like to have gods walking around, as people interacting in the real world? And I was like, that's a very interesting. That's very interesting. I would like to see more of that. But then you have Snyderisms, of course. So then that got derailed, and then of course now the DC EU was completely scrapped and then rebooted. I thought the new Superman was okay.
It wasn't bad. Like it didn't catch me, but I got what he was trying to do by trying to give us an early Superman that wasn't full god status yet, that you could still bruise him and break some bones.
Yeah.
So that he knew he wasn't just gonna barrel through everything. Because in today's comics, he's just God. You can't kill him, you can't hurt him. He's resistant to magic now. He can resist mind control. He doesn't have any of the weakness anywhere near the weaknesses he had even 20 years ago. So.
What did you think about I saw, and again, now we're moving on to another sort of, director with his own taste, James Gunn. Okay, I know this isn't directed by him, but the new Supergirl teaser or trailer. Did you see that?
Yeah, I like blondes, so my criticisms aren't gonna be that good. Especially
I got
Mhm.
Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. Not saying that's a bad thing, but as soon as I watched it, I was like, I know this isn't directed by him, but this is okay, funky 80s soundtrack. I don't know. It was very and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I was like, this looks a lot like Star-Lord.
Yeah, I never really again. I really never even picked up a Supergirl comic or a Power Girl comic. So, I think for the general public, they're going to have a lot more latitude to craft the Supergirl they want. So my mind's open on it. I hope it's good. Yeah, if it's a bit more, general characterization while they try and feel out the actress, because sometimes the actor makes the character.
Yeah, for sure. And I could see, in the thing, people were saying oh, she's this cliche party girl, you see her drinking. But on the other hand, my interpretation of it was well, if I don't know the storyline, if she was there or was around when her whole planet was destroyed, that would make me, that might cause one to, this could be a storyline. This might be why she parties and does this, because, she's a little depressed. This could be an interesting character. I saw a lot of people in comments about, oh, she's drinking and partying, oh my God. But I read it as well, maybe she's doing this because, because they had allusions to, her world getting destroyed, basically. And what would that do to you? And I'm like, okay, there's some lighthearted stuff, but maybe there's this storyline, which would be interesting of what would happen if you're one of the last two beings in existence from your own planet. What would that do to you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm keeping my brain open on it. I don't want to make any judgments because it looks well shot. The framing, just in the preview, the framing of the shots look good. It's the colors don't look oversaturated. There's the shots are somewhat dynamic, and it doesn't look like they lean too heavily on CGI. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of CGI because I'm sure it's going to be a lot in space and outer world backgrounds and all that stuff. But it looked like they weren't overly just nuking the entire set with it. So
did you see I didn't watch all of Peacemaker, but they had Lex Luthor speaking in the same universe. They had a Lex Luthor scene in there, and actually, that's where you had kind of an R-rated Lex Luthor. I really liked that scene. I don't know if you saw it. I was like, oh wow. And I think I can't say it because he was describing some graphic acts, but I think it was making an allusion to Killer Croc, if I'm not mistaken, because it was a scaly fellow, and I don't know who the other fellow that he was describing was. Some fairy, I don't know who that was, but I think the main character he was describing in the cell next to him was Killer Croc. Was that your interpretation?
No, yeah. Oh, one, because they were already in a cell, and Killer Croc gets arrested a lot in the comics. He's either out committing crime or on the verge of reversing his very briefly done rehabilitation. So it might be you can do a good Killer Croc too. I mean that's a wide open character because he's been interpreted so many times, and he's been done well a lot in the comics too, and in the original Batman cartoons. He's
Now speaking of, they're releasing or they're at least it's on the book, Batman Brave and the Bold, and they're right. That's going to be, and they're apparently going to, according to James Gunn, going to be talking about all the Bat family characters. I love Batman, but I'm also like, I don't know, how are they gonna do it? Superman was so lighthearted, and tone wise, how are they gonna mesh the tone? Is a question I have. What do you think?
Yeah, for me when it comes to that stuff, when you introduce such disparate characters in terms of their qualities, then it's really hard to do. That's why I liked the original Justice League cartoon in the 90s, because it was Boy Scout Superman did do the right thing. He interacted with Batman. He was hostile a bit. They rubbed each other the wrong way the first couple times they met. Then they got over each other's differences, but they maintained consistency with their characterization when they interacted, and that's hard to do in a movie format. So
yeah. And right, and I'm seeing, like, I get, like, for instance, the Lex Luthor you see in the Brief Peacemaker is an R-rated Lex Luthor, right? And then the Lex Luthor, obviously, you see in the Superman Legacy was a PG-13 Lex Luthor. And you see how people act differently. So I'm like, I see how they're trying to do it, but I could also see meshing all of these tones, if not done well, it could just be challenging, in my opinion. Now, one thing I could see be cool, and I would love, is if they, just because I like the video games, is if they did like an Injustice type thing.
Oh yeah.
Right, where it was like Batman and Superman got like real pissed at each other, and there was some like infighting. Like use kind of the video games as inspiration, if you will.
Oh yeah, no, I'd be for a severe version of that too, because I never played the games, but I liked the cutscenes. I get bored, I'll put the YouTube movie of cutscenes from those games up, and they followed the comics closely enough, especially just for cutscenes from a fighting game. I wasn't expecting good storytelling out of a beat 'em up. So,
neither was I, but I was drawn to the cutscenes too. I remember watching. I was like, okay, this is really interesting, right? Like, okay, how they're introducing them, the conflicts between the characters. Like, it's like DC's version of Civil War, basically, is how I interpreted it. And I mean, it was, the cutscenes, like the storylines, and then putting it in a beat 'em up fighter game, or a 2-on-2 fight game. I was like, hey, this is like pretty genius in my opinion. Now, my other question, and like, because I know they're going to do it, we all know they're going to do it because it's like their bread and butter. But like, what do you think the eventual Joker is going to be like in this universe?
This is it's going to be cliche, but it's for a live action Joker, it's going to be so hard to top what Heath Ledger did. And it's going to be hard for someone to even come in a close second after Jack Nicholson. If you ever saw the original Batman movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because he just chewed the scenery up with that. So
yeah,
like, should the focus be Joker's a threat in the background? It doesn't really steal the scene. Like, do you manage that character down because of the historic portrayals, or do you shoot for the moon? Because you can't have another. Who's the guy that screwed it up awfully?
Jared Leto.
Yeah, Jared. Yeah, you can't have another Jared Leto Joker. That was painful to watch.
And it sucks too, because the idea behind it, like a gangster type Joker, that like, I'm like, okay, that's an interesting portrayal.
But the execution was just
was just really crappy. But I'm like, well, that's an interesting angle to take.
Yeah.
But damn, that didn't land at all. Jared Leto aside, his recent Tron movie flopped. Man,
that hurt me too, because I
liked Tron. I liked Tron.
Tron Legacy was so good.
Highly underrated, like sleeper hit. I remember it didn't make as much of the box office as I remember. I saw it opening weekend. Didn't make as much as the box office as I remember they wanted, so they kind of put it on ice. But like the art style, Daft Punk, like dude,
The
that was
soundtrack was you
awesome.
can't. That was it was a perfect fucking soundtrack, man. I can put that. You can put that on the background of anything. You can be at work and put on like End of Line on loop for 10 hours.
Yeah. Yes.
Just
Yes.
fucking have fun with it. But that's once in a lifetime music track. Like they're Daft Punk. I mean, it was a perfect timing for it. Like their careers. I think Disney was just like, just give us a soundtrack. It needs to be an hour and a half long. Daft Punk was like, okay, we'll come back with something perfect.
Dude, I mean, when they walked, the end of line, when they walked into the club, and then it just started playing on it when he hit the stairs, and I was like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Like this is just this song. I saw a comment on YouTube one time. They're like, it was a perfect encapsulation. They said this song is pure energy.
It sure.
And I was like, yeah, yes, it is. Like it's just there's something about it where you're like, damn. It's like it's like it was. I thought it was like this like musical Red Bull.
Yeah.
in my opinion. So Tron, that was again interesting concept. I was like, okay, bringing it into the real world, like, okay, that's cool. But then I don't know, I movie flopped. And of course, Jared Leto, that Joker kind of blah, but Joker kind of blah. But yeah, like, how would you like the Joker's going to need to be kind of lighthearted in the new DCU?
Yeah,
which you could work. I mean, Mark Hamill's Joker in the original Batman animated series was like, it was dark, but he was lighthearted, like he was like a jokester.
Coming in your fucking down.
And that's Derek. Hang on.
Hi, Derek. But I'm wondering how they're going to mesh that, like, while still, like, it would have to be a completely different interpretation than Heath Ledger, obviously. But, how do you make him more lighthearted without him being just a total clown? Clown, no pun intended.
Yeah, like he's still got to be a threat, and he has to be. The problem is he has to be a threat to Batman.
Yeah,
and that's a hard thing to pull off with anyone portraying him. But then to take the other, again, even though it's not the same universe, you have to take in the public's memory of all the other Jokers. How do we avoid trying to make it look like we're trying to recreate that, and also maintain a threat for Batman to build a story with? And I'm not creative enough to even approach that angle.
Speaking of Batman, what did you now? Of course, there's another Batman. So this will be when the new Batman Part 2 from Robert Pattinson is coming out in 2027, which I think Batman Brave and the Bold is. So there's going to be, at least in my memory, there might be 2 Batman films in or around the same year.
If they're good, that's fine. If it's Batman and it's good, I'll pay money for it.
Do you? I mean, I saw the Colin Farrell, the Penguin series on HBO.
That was good.
That was awesome.
He chewed up that character. He wanted to play a gangster, and he played him very well.
And I like how they did it, where like, I don't know, you understood him, but there was no like, oh, he's a bad guy because of this. They're like, no, he's a bad guy. He's going to be. You're going to understand him, but he's still a bad guy.
Yeah, not everyone has to be complex. This is just somebody with a life that happens to be a very bad guy. You're going to like him, but not for any good reason.
Right. They're like, he doesn't have very good redeeming qualities, but he's an interesting to watch. It's an interesting character. Like, you can make someone all bad, but still have them be interesting. Now, my thing was, they're like, oh, Batman didn't show up. In my interpretation, at the end, Batman got the crap kicked out of him. So I'm like, he's probably like healing. And then by the end of the Penguin series, you see the bat signal go on. I'm like, all right, he's healed up. He's like ready to get back in. That being said, I don't know, when it's Robert Pattinson's Batman kind of like grew on me. At first, when I saw the movie, I don't know, I didn't really like it. But then when I watched it the second time, I liked it. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it wasn't a bad movie. They did good storytelling. It's a good like intro to Batman, not as a character, but intro to how he becomes the Batman that's kind of in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Because, again, he's younger. You can see he's struggling. He can't manage his life yet. He's constantly shooting himself up with adrenaline to stay awake and manage the Batman, persona. Isn't a great detective yet. He's still a good detective. You're not seeing a fully developed character. You're seeing the silhouette, but it's not completely formed. So that's what I liked because there's potential to do stuff with that in the next movie. So fingers crossed.
Now they had the cut scene that they released to YouTube about him. Do you see with him with the speaking of which the Joker, who was played by that Brandon? I forgot that actor. They released the scene of him with interviewing with the Joker at Arkham.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
It's on YouTube. Basically, this Joker has is deformed, has elephantitis, which was interesting. I was like, okay, that's interesting. He's very deformed. It's on. They released it on YouTube. I remember a month after the movie came, and I don't know if it's canon, but I mean it was interesting. I was like, okay, this is an interesting take about how the Joker would be the Joker, and Batman's interviewing him, and he's deformed because I think they mentioned elephantitis or some deformity that he had being born, and they don't describe why he's in Arkham, but he's in Arkham, and then Batman's talking to him. And that was interesting, but I get why they didn't have the Joker in the main movie because it's I don't know, there's a lot of other villains in Batman, that can be used, in my opinion.
No, he's got. You could do a Solomon Grundy movie if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hush as well. I've never
Oh God, I don't think they're going to tackle it. You would need someone to really pull out all the stops for Hush. If you did,
I think they're gonna. I just think he's a cool. He's cool.
It's great, but you have to set that up. You can't. You could do it in one long 2.5 hour movie, but you'd have to trim all the fat out. You couldn't have commercial BS nonsense. You couldn't be worrying about people sharing screen time. It would have to be.
You have to build up the relationship, then the fallout, right? And that would be a lot to. That would be a tackle.
Now that you said, Hush was probably my favorite Batman run, just because of how crazy it got.
Yeah, and then he was willing to cross the line that Batman is not willing to cross. I mean, he's like the. I mean, they always say the Joker is the opposite side of the coin of Batman, but I would say Hush is also kind of the other side, if you will, in some ways.
I think
or he's willing to cross the line.
Yeah, I think Joker is the opposite side of the coin, but Hush is the negative. Hush is the film negative of Batman. He fills in the gaps where Batman wouldn't, which is, shooting people and being willing to just kill everybody that gets in your way, which is not what Batman's willing to do. But they're both willing to do it in the shadows and outside of law enforcement.
Vigilantism.
Yeah.
It's still something. It's something that you understand it, but you don't condone. It's I understand it, but this is crazy.
Oh yeah. But how cool does it look? Does it look really cool when he's doing it? You're I can kind of get behind it.
And he's kind of it's kind of like the Punisher, basically, where it's okay, I'm, when they first introduced the Punisher in the Daredevil series, he's you hit him and they get back up. I hit him and they stay down. And I was oh damn, okay. Yeah,
that's straight Frank Castle, but that's how he is in the comics up until recently. So
yeah, he's still in the. I admit I didn't see the new Daredevil Brave and
I'm not watching I didn't have enough gas. The first Daredevil series was good, but the reboot didn't look that appealing to me. So,
no, honestly, I'm just tired of paying for streaming services. I got to tell you, damn, it's this streaming service, then this streaming service, and then this streaming service, and it's I'll be honest, I don't know what to watch 90% of the time.
No, you could just pirate stuff too. No, don't pirate. It's not good. No, for I usually just have the one. I have Amazon, and then if it's something I really want to watch, I'll wait for it to get cycled through because you can rent it for $3 or $4 on Amazon, and all these streaming platforms want you to buy into each other. So you log into one. I can log into Amazon, and the first 20 selections are free trials or rent it from Paramount or rent it from HBO before I even get to the actual Amazon properties.
And Netflix just bought Warner Bros. And now they're saying 17 days after it's released in theaters, it's going to come out on Netflix now. They were saying for some movies, and I was oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of going that direction anyway.
Yeah.
I don't go to the movies very frequently anymore. I go maybe a couple times a year tops, but every time I go, the theaters are 90% empty. It doesn't matter if it's a Tuesday or a Friday or anything.
Dude, yeah. It is. I've been in movie theaters in the last couple of years where sometimes I was alone, where I was the only one, or was my brother. and I don't know, like you're like, oh, this is great, but it also like I get it. I mean, because movie tickets have skyrocketed, I get it, but it also makes me a little, I don't know, a little sad because there's like the audience being in a movie theater with an audience with an epic movie. There's something about that, but we live, we have 60-inch plasma TVs at our homes now.
Yeah.
And so, oh,
I don't know how that fell off. I didn't touch anything.
we're going to keep that on the stream too, because I think that's like, this is our first stream, which I like.
Oh, wait, no. Yeah, no reason to cut that. All right.
But, I don't know. Do you think movie theaters will be around in like 10 years? Like, or like, I don't know.
I think it's going to turn. No, you didn't grow up in Rhode Island, did you?
No, my brother went to college in Rhode Island, though.
Right next to the Rhode Island School of Design, or a couple blocks up the street, which is a big art school.
Yeah, RISD, right?
Yeah, it was there for a long time. I don't remember if it's still there. They had a boxcar movie theater. It was basically a little boutique. Like, they didn't have movie theater seats. They had couches that they would just pull in from the street or get donated. And they would put on random art house movies. You can go for like $1, and then they would have premiere nights. You'd pay like $20 to kind of support the theater.
Yeah.
But it was explicitly. This was in the '90s, in early 2000s when I was still up there. It was explicitly you're there for a boutique support the artist experience, not a mass commercial thing. So I think movie theaters are going to kind of go in that direction, because even like over here where I am, the studio movie grill has $6 tickets on Tuesdays. Even then, there's maybe a half dozen people in the damn theater.
So then the chains are going to have to basically go away, because their whole bread and butter is blockbusters or big movies where they get half of, and their overhead is insane. So if they're not raking it in, I guess AMC is done.
Yeah, so I think you're going to see a shift back to small art house stuff. Then that will be the core of the going out to the movie industry. And the big stuff's just going to be on TVs. Like, I was at Walmart last week picking up some stuff to clean the house with. I walked by electronics, and they have 80-inch TVs for less than $1,000.
Yeah, dude, I remember when those things used to be like $5,000, and like I got like a 50-inch TV, like it was like 4K for like under $500, and it's like 120 hertz.
Yeah, I got a 4K 65-inch TV. I picked it up for $350. Like, and I've had it for 4 years. It's fine. Like, it's not breaking. It's not cracked. There's no bleed through on the colors.
It's interesting. Times are shifting, and then long form content. We're so kind of dialed in with short form, immediate dopamine hits. Are people going to sit through 2-hour movies anymore without getting on their phones?
I think they will for the right movies, just not a lot of the crap that's getting pumped out today.
No. You think that there's too much? I think there's just, and I get studios, there's just too much volume. Psychologically, it's like if you have too many flavors of anything, the mind just stops. It's like the mind is more likely to pick when there's like 3 flavors as opposed to like 68.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like, okay, I can handle this amount. So it's like there's so much, and then there's so much variety, which can be good, but I don't know. It just seems like there's a new series like every day, and I have no idea what to watch.
Oh yeah, I think that's also something else, because we're not quite the same age, but we're from the era of on Monday morning, everyone saw 3 or 4 different shows between Thursday night and Sunday night, like the Seinfeld, Friends, Simpsons, whatever it was.
HBO on Sunday, True Blood.
Yeah, and everyone had those 4 or 5 shows, and that was even in high school or middle school. That was like what you taught. Oh, do you see the thing? Oh, I love the part where blah blah. And then that's kind of gone away with the explosion of every single interest group getting its own series about whatever subject they want. So now you have the hyper interested people on these really narrow spectrums talking about like story type X, Y, or Z, but doesn't have a lot of broad appeal, or the streaming things make it available all at once. So there's no anticipation. It's like, oh, I'll binge it next weekend and we'll talk about it later. Then you kind of forget, and then you never bring it up again.
And then the acting industry too is affected. I mean, I'm not an actor, but like I don't think actors get paid very much for streaming. So it's like, and then I don't know, the acting industry seems to be all over the place because basically everywhere they're streaming. So there's tons of people getting streaming services, but none of the actors probably are getting paid, as far as I know, very much, unless you're a big name. I know the entertainment industry, it's like it's changing in a way where, I don't know, with AI, I mean, will there even be human, will we even have human actors anymore?
I think it will. And it's gotten exponentially good from like the first Will Smith video of him eating spaghetti 4 years ago to now. But it's a great framing because that's not even 5 years and it's going astronomically. Just you can't, like, if you show someone that video and said, all right, I'll check back in 10 years, and then you show them today's crap, you blow their mind if they didn't see anything AI for that long.
Dude, the AI is getting so good that sometimes on YouTube, I'm like, people in the comments like, that's AI. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
I actually didn't know that until until you said that, like, which gets a little, uncanny valley. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know, which it's good because like anybody can now make films, but it's saturation basically, and will that hurt CGI? Because, you can pump out graphics, CGI, all that, but I still think you still need good artistry. I think we saw it with Phase 4 Marvel to loop back. Like, if you just pump out CGI with no artistry or quality, you kind of see it looks terrible.
Yeah, I think you're going to see with the AI stuff, you're going to see a lot of just, for lack of a better word, slop come out for the next 10 years. But it's also going to hit that inflection point where one guy can make a 2.5 hour movie with minimal equipment and minimal work. And you're going to have a handful of people who are so exceptionally good at crafting that stuff that will be just as good as any movie you could ever imagine, or better than the original Ben-Hur, or better, not better than, but
Sure.
on with all those old classics. But you're going to have a lot of junk in the meantime where it's like, I can't believe this stuff got made, or I can't believe it got sponsorship.
Dude, I looked at this. I downloaded the Sora 2 app just because you can make the AI videos, and after about 5 minutes of going through it was bile. Like, it was just, I was like, okay, this is just too, like, I don't know. It wasn't, people were saying like, oh, this is going to be great, but like, I don't know, there's still something to be said about quality, or like at least interesting. And it was just like internet video. What did you think of it? Have you looked into it?
I don't have it. I've seen a lot of the videos because they show up in my feeds. I like the dumb, goofy stuff, like the cat fixing the electrical panel and the hair gets all poofy, like the cartoons. But that's just referencing something from when we were little kids. That's not original. It's just a CGI, effectively just a CGI version of the stuff we've already seen.
It's just rehashing what we've seen, and we're watching it,
which is fine. But don't pretend like it's original or it's unique or it's Again, we're trying to think of a way to phrase it. I think it's a new industry. It's a new form of expression that, like, there's going to be a lot of wobble while people figure out what it ends up crystallizing into. Is it the hyper commercialization? Is it actually going to be used as an artistic tool? I think we're far way off from that part. I think it's going to be a great assist right now for the people that know how to use it properly, but otherwise you're just going to get a lot of garbage.
Yeah, AI slop is definitely a thing. All right, with that, I think we covered a broad amount of topics. Yeah. So we're going to try to, I think, make this at least a couple, weekly, a couple time a week thing. And like, we're going to keep doing this. Hopefully people watching are liking this. If you have comments or want us to talk about certain things, let us know.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other comments from you, George, before we sign off?
No. It'll be a fun experiment. Like you said, we'll see if we can get some traction with it. If people are interested in joining the conversation or critiquing or saying we're retarded or whatever it is,
they could say that, and we could very well. And I would love to hear that and be like, oh, okay, like, well, interesting. Guide the conversation here, okay. As long as people are engaged, that's what I care about. And if people have things they want to talk about, that's kind of where I would like this to go. Is where, like, let's have a conversation about all things that are interesting in entertainment, basically.
Yeah, should be fun.
Excellent. Well, good talking. We will talk soon with a new episode, and I'll have this posted later.
All right, cool. Let's get this thing rolling. See you later, Isaac.
Talk to you later, man.
Bye.
Bye.